It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Beautiful, the Carole King musical. What's it all about? The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, and Machinal. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Two on the Aisle. Good evening, I am Charles Gross.
And I am Leslie Hoban Blake. Good evening.
Okay. Well, tonight we have pairs. We have two jukebox musicals.
Any apples?
Any apples?
Sorry. Go.
No.
Go. Well,
but yes, we have no bananas.
Okay, good.
Now, what we do have tonight is a musical about a nice girl, a nice Jewish girl from Brooklyn, who comes to the big city in the late 50s, early 60s, writes lots and lots of his songs, and has a relationship with her songwriting partner. No, it's not a revival of Leader of the Pack.
Okay.
It is Beautiful, the Carole King musical. But you know what? They certainly had a lot in common. But some prime differences. Number one, Ellie Greenwich did most of her composing on an accordion, and Carole King was a classically trained pianist who wrote on her piano. Ellie Greenwich actually appeared in Leader of the Pack, and we're not even sure Carole King is going to come and see this show.
True, but she should, because it really is beautiful.
Well, beautiful is an apt term for it, and I would go so far as to say that this is the best jukebox musical that I have seen since Jersey Boys. Now,
which it reminds one of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, given the state of jukebox musicals, that may not be saying much, but they really have some nice songs. I mean, I had no idea about some of the songs she wrote. Well, obviously, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, but also The Locomotion, sung by Little Eva, who we find out, this is true, was her babysitter.
I don't like the way we find out. It's like, oh, we lost our babysitter, Little Eva, because she gets.
No, it's their.
Go ahead and sing
they're talking
it,
to the
Little
babysitter.
Eva. Yes,
They're looking for suggestions as to who should sing the song. Now, what they do is they Carole King and Jerry Goffin, who was her songwriting partner and husband in the 60s. It's basically the story of how they meet when she's in high school. She's 17, and it ends pretty much right after about the time of the release of Tapestry.
Right.
Now, just to make things interesting, they have also the characters of Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. Why? Because you can get some really nice songs that they wrote in there, such as Up on the Roof. Plus, it's a counterpoint to the drama that's going on. The two couples are friends, but they're also friendly rivals. And Don Kirshner, who both of them were working for, is not above playing them against each other.
Well, you know what I think is wonderful? I came with the lowest of expectations. I love Carole King's music, but I thought, I don't want to see a show just of Carole King's music. I'd rather listen to Tapestry. And of course, that isn't what happened. I didn't know about the early days. I really didn't put that together.
Well, you probably knew the songs. You just didn't realize that she wrote them.
And of course, how could that little girl, how could the woman with the frizzy hair and the granny dresses do that? Is because she turned into that person, and that's the whole point. This ends just as she's turning into that person,
right? And
so we don't get James. And I did miss James Taylor. I really was hoping it would go into that. It didn't, but there was so much. It was so rich.
Yes.
And the songs and the groups for whom they wrote made it, as you say, like the Jersey Boys, but it wasn't so derivative that it annoyed me.
It wasn't at all.
And see, you have this right here. The thing that annoyed me was Janis Joplin, which could have been as wonderful as this and wasn't, because it didn't have a storyline, and this has a strong storyline.
Right. Well, this essentially has a good storyline. Janis Joplin is essentially a concert.
Which, if they'd said it was.
And a master class.
Right, but if they'd said it was, I could have liked it. But, you know, I don't want to get too far away from this, but the point is that I thought this was beautifully done.
It was. It was nicely directed. The songs are well performed, and you have Jesse, I think it's Mollier as Carole King. Wonderful job. I loved Annika Larson as Cynthia Weil. She has this. I don't know what she's like in real life, but when she comes in to press herself as a singer, Carol is there, and she sits down and has Carol play a stand. Happy Days Are Here Again with her new lyrics, and this is how supposedly she gets herself in. Interestingly, she and Barry Mann, I believe, are still married.
Writing songs together?
Yeah. I think they still are, and they've done that for some movie scores again.
I
so
see. Okay.
Check. They have their own website. Check it out, and you can see what they're up to.
Well, let's see what they're up to now.
Okay. We have some scenes from Beautiful, the Carole King musical. Let's take a look.
I'd like to know that your love is love I can be
sometimes we'll fight.
I won't really care.
And I know it's gonna be alright, 'cause we got so much we share. Like walking in the rain and wishing on the stars up above and being so in love.
And it's too late, baby, now it's too late. Oh, we really did try to make it. Something inside has died, and I can't hide, and I just can't fake it. Oh, no.
On the roof, it's peaceful as can be. And there the world below can't bother me.
People gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful, that you feel. You make me feel. You make me feel. You make me feel like a natural woman. Natural woman. Make me feel. You make me feel. You make me feel like a natural woman. Natural woman.
I have nice hands.
You have very nice hands. Now, can we talk about the show?
Yes, well, I thought we did.
All right. This is a really excellent show. Let me just, I just have to mention a couple of the songs that you will hear if you see this. Let's see. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow?
Maybe the
The
direction.
Locomotion on Broadway.
Yeah.
You've Lost That Loving Feeling. One Fine Day. Chains. Walking in the Rain. Uptown. It's Too Late. And, of course, Beautiful. The one that I miss, and they play a few bars of it, but they don't sing it, is I Will Follow You, which is, these
I
days, is
love
probably
that
best
song,
known as the
yeah.
theme from Gilmore
I
Girls.
love that song. But who's the director? I don't have my playbill. I'm sorry, I don't recall who did it. Maybe it will be
Let's
right
see.
there. I can,
Ooh, yes.
right there.
Okay.
Right here. Okay. It was very well cast, and well, I thought it was right here. Mark Bruni. Okay,
Right.
it was not. It's not someone whose name came first to
Right.
mind.
And
when
Doug McGrath was the writer.
Yes, McGraw. Yeah.
All in all, and I have to pay a tribute because this takes place not in the Brill Building, but 1650 Broadway, where I had my first full-time job after college, and also when I went into real estate, I did my first real estate transaction. So
There should be a plaque on the
I
building
guess
that says
I guess there should be, and I guess so I kind of share a history with Carole King, and that's kind of nice.
I guess you did.
And I will give the show 4 playbills.
I would give it 4.5. I had a really good time. And the thing was, I found myself bouncing in the seat long before I noticed anybody else. And at Joplin, everybody was bouncing and singing and drinking. And I don't know. I had such a good time at Beautiful, and I didn't expect to. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was well directed. It was
Yes.
well written. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. So you'll go home, put Tapestry on, and go to sleep with a smile on your face.
Which I cannot say about What's It All About.
Okay.
What's It All About to me is a problematical piece from beginning to end, directed by Stephen Hoggett, who also directed, unfortunately, the recent Glass Menagerie, which I didn't like, but has also directed Peter and the Starcatcher and Once, which I love. So here's somebody whose work does not.
We should say this is the Burt Bacharach.
This is the Burt Bacharach show. It's called Bacharach Reimagined, and it makes me angry just to hear that phrase, because when Frank Sinatra sang the Beatles, nobody said, "Hey, look, Frank Sinatra has reimagined the Beatles." No, he just did covers of the Beatles. People have all. Tony Bennett goes out and sings Cole Porter. He's not reinventing Cole Porter. So why does this little pisher, you'll forgive me for using the phrase, who is on a guy named Kyle Riabaco, I don't know how to say his name, who was in, do you remember what he's in? Because he was in something, but I don't know what.
Am I supposed to answer the question? Because I think I can.
Okay, go ahead.
What this is, now this is a very different.
It was in Spring Awakening, that's what he was in.
A very different jukebox musical in that there is absolutely no plot, there is absolutely no story. This is just Burt Bacharach reimagined. And I will say that Frank Sinatra may have done some Beatles covers, not exactly what he's known for.
He did the White Album. He did the whole White Album.
Sinatra did that?
Yeah.
Okay, that should be interesting, but
It is.
that's for another show. And what he's done is he has reinterpreted them, reorchestrated them. Most of the shows will try to do them as we remember them. He's trying to do them, and it's set on a stage, and they have audience on the stage. It kind of looks like a living room. It looks like a get-together of a bunch of musicians for a kumsis, that's a sing-along, in a living room. If your living room happens to have this huge turntable put into the floor.
And your couch is on the wall.
Yes. So maybe that's to signify that they are being a little off the wall here.
Well, but you see, Stephen Hoggett also directed American Idiot, which had things on the wall. So he's he's reinventing, he's reimagining himself. He also, look, the thing is this, the songs are of a period, and the people are all dressed, they look like a road company of hair that got lost somewhere and came into this apartment, if that's, where you want it to be. And I don't understand, I don't understand what it is all about. When maybe that's the answer. They say, what's it all about? And the answer is it's not about anything. You just said it's not about anything.
It's not about anything.
So it's a reimagining means new orchestrations. So it just means let's do the songs differently.
Yes.
When Bob Dylan does a concert,
that's exactly
he never sings his own music the same way twice. That's his shtick.
That's exactly what it means. But Bob Dylan will sing it similarly. Here they're really trying to go a different way. And you don't think they succeed?
Yeah.
You know what?
No.
I don't think they succeeded either.
Good. Well,
and I like Burt Bacharach's songs. I think they left a lot of the more popular ones out too. I mean, I would have liked. Did they even have? I think they had Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head in there, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, because you don't recognize them because they're not done the way that you remember them.
Right. But a good classic song can be done different ways.
Yeah.
Look at how the Beatles did Till There Was You.
Absolutely.
From the Music Man. Look at Blue Moon, which Rodgers and Hart wrote, and how it's been reinterpreted. Yes. So there are many ways. Look, I
have no problem with that.
I did a rap version of Why Can't the English recently.
So yeah, you'll have to put that on the show sometime.
Sometime we will.
But I mean, so the thing is that I think that this divided people. I think there were some critics who absolutely loved it, but there were others like myself who didn't.
Right.
And I put myself in. After I got finished being angry, I was bored. Right. So those were my two feelings.
I was never angry with the show, but I never really enjoyed it.
I was angry at the chutzpah of what they said they were trying to do in the first place. I think it's nice when you do try and do that. I think because if these songs are good, and they are, they should stand up to a reinterpretation. Absolutely.
Doesn't negate their original.
Well,
look,
Bacharach gave a seal of approval to it, so he must have.
But you are not. But you know what? Neither of us are, because I loved how they said it. I like the atmosphere. It's kind of how I felt about Once. I like the atmosphere that they set up for it, but I didn't. I know I'm in the minority. I didn't like Once very much, and I really did not enjoy this.
Yeah. Do you remember the knitting the zipper over on 39th Street?
I do, with the car seats.
This is what they were trying to recreate. They had all of this.
Except they didn't have car seats.
No, they didn't have car seats.
Zipper, a lot of their seats have from cars. Okay, so we have to move on. Your conclusion?
I have to give it something, right? I give it 1.5, but I never do that.
You have to give it something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So Raindrops are
what would you give it?
I said 2, or between 2 and 2.5. I think maybe closer to 2.5.
Okay.
I was disappointed. I like Burt Bacharach. I'm a big fan of his works.
Me too.
And I came in prepared to really have a wonderful time.
And they are of a particular
time. And I did not.
And
well, the ironic thing is it really kind of meshes with Beautiful. So you have, Burt Bacharach certainly writes very differently than.
Well, he was the next generation of songwriters.
But there's only a few years. But there's only really a few years apart.
And there was only a certain
They were both
period
in the
of
60s.
time.
There's like maybe 5 years, if even that, between when Burt Bacharach started hitting the stride and when they did.
And he had maybe a 10-year run, and then that was it.
And you can tell that there was. certainly is a major difference. His songs are very musical, very nicely, very lyrical, almost theatrical, which is why I've always been so disappointed with Promises, Promises, the only musical he ever wrote, and the score, for the most part, is very disappointing. All right, the second segment of our show, The Criminal Mind.
Oh, that's how we're doing
Yes,
it. Okay.
yes.
All
So we
right.
have two possibly misunderstood characters, both of whom commit crimes, and they look at them. Do you show which one? I will give you the choice
you
of where you
start.
want to
You
start.
go ahead.
Okay,
You're
so we're
on-
gonna start.
you're-
This is
you're
the
on loneliness. You
the
start.
loneliness of the long distance runner, and this actually originally takes place, I think, in the 1920s. Was
No,
when this was
1960s. 1960s
Oh, was
in
it?
London.
Oh, in London. Okay, it has been updated, which by that it means instead of a tape recorder, someone will pull out a tablet. It's about a young man in London, young black man with teenager, no real prospects, gets caught for stealing, gets thrown in jail because it's zero tolerance time. He discovers, and the people at the jail discover, he has a talent for running, so they want to enter him in a contest in which some elite private schools will also be competing. And he's got the talent, and they they bend the rules quite a bit. They let him go outside of the walls to practice, and they give him every amenity, every consideration that he can. He's the top man in the jail, and then he's running the race, and he knows he can win it. But he's wondering, am I doing this for me, or am I doing this for them? And if either way, are they controlling me? And that's the question he has. And he comes up with a resolution to it at the end of the play, which I'll tell you right now I don't agree with. But we could debate that another night. What I liked about the play is how he presents, the character is presented. We understand him. We understand his situation. We don't necessarily agree with his actions, but we understand how he arrived at the decision and why he takes them.
Well,
and it comes to a fascinating performance by Sheldon Best as the runner.
Yes,
he's on
absolutely.
stage, I think, pretty much for the whole play.
A beautiful young man of physique like not be believed.
You have no
And I sat in the
trouble
front
believing
row,
that he could win any of these
and
races.
this poor guy was sweating like you cannot believe because he was running for the whole show, running and talking and running and talking. And
It is
it's
a
fascinating.
tour de force performance.
Running in place.
Very strong.
Running in place. And I mean, the ability to breathe and run, forget about speaking and running, is amazing. A young guy, when he came out afterwards, he was wearing Harry Potter glasses. You would never recognize him on the street. He said, "Oh, I'm a nerd." And none of them are British. I mean, one or two of the girls are British, I believe, but they have wonderful British accents. They train very well. Well done. Directed
Extremely.
by Leah Gardner, a woman, a female director. Which
originally
is,
written by Alan
Sillitoe,
and adapted by Roy Williams.
Yes, and the thing is that the original movie brought us, and now of course I'm going to forget his name, oh dear God, a wonderful British actor who's now an elderly gentleman. But it was one of the angry young men, and it was adapted directly from the novel into the movie, so this is the first time it's ever been a play.
But it doesn't feel like a 50s, 60s angry young man. He feels like a 21st century angry young man, and it makes the transaction. It makes much better than Burt Bacharach's songs do in What's It All About.
It's not insulting. I mean, it's not.
No?
It is what's going on in Britain. It is the people of color who have the problems more so than anyone, and even though everybody's got job problems, they are the ones who are, which is what happened in our prisons as well. So it takes on many, many things. It's what the stop and frisk law is all about too.
So
beautifully done.
I'm gonna cut this short. I'm gonna give it 4 playbills, and I'm going to recommend this play.
I'm going to give it 4.5. I wish that it gets a longer run. I don't know that it's going to be able to extend. It's at the Atlantic Theatre Company, second stage.
On the other side of the spectrum is the Roundabouts.
Well, this is mine. I'm going to get to introduce this, though I'm not going to talk about it. It's called Machinal, and this is like Godot and Godot, whether it was Machinal or Machinal. I checked, they said Machinal. The word is not used in the play at all. I believe what its meaning is that it's the mechanical world in which this young woman lives. And the young woman is played by Rebecca Hall. I don't know if you can see her in this picture. She bears a strong resemblance to Carol Burnett, which spoils a lot of what she does for me. And the reason is that she doesn't get to, she's not a jokester, she doesn't tell jokes. The opening scene, The play is from the 20s. The script itself runs 124 pages. They sent us the script. It's online. I read it. It reads like this, like one of those 1920s movies where people talk very fast and everything's like that. It doesn't play like that. And it starts out, it's in a subway train, and the spotlight hits her, and everybody's wearing gray, and she turns around, and you get the idea that she lives in a mechanized society, and she's just a cog in a wheel kind of thing, which I think is what that picture's supposed to show, and she's going in the wrong direction. And that's what it's about. She doesn't seem to have a chance. She works in an office. She has a menial kind of job. She goes home and she has a mother to take care of, and wherever she goes, things are not going her way. And the boss, who is played by Michael Cumpsey, is a bore. He comes out and he tells the same joke every day, or he tells bad jokes every day, and the office people all have to laugh at him.
And she ends up marrying him.
Well, he loves her. For some reason, he falls in love with her. Why he picks her, one doesn't know.
He marries her. She's still miserable. She has an affair. That perks her up, and you'd see a very different character. And then she just to end it because and then she ends up killing her husband. And that was the inspiration for this play. A woman who killed her husband.
Ruth Snyder, famous picture of Ruth Snyder on the front page of the Daily News.
That's what inspired Sophia Treadwell to write the play. She wanted to understand how a woman could get into this situation. And you know what? After seeing it, I still don't understand it.
Well,
okay.
I wanted to say two things. First of all, it's always been talked about as a model of feminist writing. I don't get that, because the woman is listed, she's made into a victim from the beginning of the play to the end. It's a lot the way it's played. I could see the same role being played differently, but the way it's played by Rebecca Hall, a daughter of Sir Peter Hall, is that she comes out as she feels like she's a victim, and the only time she comes alive is when she's with this guy.
Right.
And they figure
who is not overly impressive.
Not particularly interested in her.
Yeah.
It's just that he makes her feel wonderful. She doesn't do that much for him.
No.
But she winds up killing him. It's also the
husband.
The husband.
Yes.
It's also that Barbara Stanwyck movie.
And they send her to the chair because of that.
Well, but the thing that got her was the picture of Ruth Snyder on the cover of the Daily News, because she was the first woman ever to be electrocuted. Close to the last one, too. They didn't electrocute too many women after that either.
But that's where it changes. In Long Distance Runner, we really understood the character. Here, I don't know what this woman is about. I think send her to a therapist or something like that. Also, Michael Cumpsey's character, in the office, they have this, what I would call office speak, a certain language, a certain shorthand. He comes home, he's still speaking it, which makes his character nicely done. I liked the acting per se, but it's wrong for the play because it makes him look like such a caricature.
But he's supposed to be. That's the whole point.
But
she's marrying so far above her station, and she still can't find any kind of happiness in it. I mean, this is part of why
but having it come like that. But again, the problem is the whole play is, you keep asking why, what is wrong with her, what is going on, and having him like that doesn't answer the question.
I don't know.
It's simply you feel you're like you're in some weird Twilight Zone universe.
I don't know that this play could have been directed differently or not. I've never seen it before. It's a play I read in college. As you yourself said, the dialogue could have been read differently. Could have been done differently just by reading it. I could see that. But I've never seen it before. It's constantly being done. And yet, so I don't get it, and I don't know whether she's supposed to be such a victim. This is how this Lindsay Turner, a British director, chose to do it this way. Rebecca Hall obviously wanted this role. I mean, I don't know why. And it doesn't do anything for her, and I don't think she does anything for it. I really don't think she's necessarily right.
I would be forced to agree with that. And again, we don't get to know her really. We understand. It looks like she's really a very psychologically sick woman at a time where there really wasn't much help for that.
They don't know whether that's supposed to be it either.
Right.
I really don't, because Treadwell that might not have been her response.
Maybe not. Maybe not. And that I don't know what her intention was. I think it was more to highlight a woman getting killed and attempt to figure out why, and she's saying because her life was so miserable and she was desperate. But not so much that we're willing to give her a pass for it. with long distance runner, we may not agree with him, but we'll give him a pass for his actions.
Well, there's no way that this
At
play
the
could be
end.
updated the way that this one was. In other words, the way that this one was up. As you say, they'd send it to a therapist, and it wouldn't have either it wouldn't have happened, or she would not have been electrocuted. She would have been put in an institution, or
Right.
or something. But something would have been different. I'm not quite sure how or what. Anyway, I'm sorry to say that, because I think I've seen Rebecca Hall in film, and I've certainly liked her. She was in one of the Woody Allen movies, or maybe two of them. I think, and it's a large cast. I mean, look at all these people.
And how would, yeah.
Look at all those people for a Broadway show. That's
Yes.
a big cast.
Yes.
And how would
it
how
is,
many-
and yet, when I think about it, I only think about her and maybe one or two other people
Well, that
who are
first
on
scene,
stage.
I'll say one
stage
thing
with her.
about the
I
set.
think we need, very quickly, because
Well,
the set is beautiful.
They go, but it's not just that it's beautiful, but it works itself where they walk in and out. And
Yes.
it's a gigantic box. that
Cleverly
turns.
done, very functional.
Yeah.
Probably a better use of a turntable than
Than a lot of things.
than
right.
one of the other shows that we discussed tonight. And I don't see.
What would you give it? How many would you give it?
I would give it 2.5. I think.
Oh, you're being generous.
Okay.
Is tonight generous? I'm going to be the Russian judge. I'm going to give it
S. Devlin.
1.5.
Okay.
Say that again?
S. Devlin
Yeah, right.
did the same
I
thing.
wanted to make sure you said
And
his
on
name.
that note,
Oh, very nice. Very
Thank
nicely
you.
done.
come to the end of the show. So when you go to the theater, look at for Leslie and me, us too.
On the aisle.